The Dodge Intrepid was a landmark vehicle for Chrysler, mostly because it was their first time using a mainstream V6 engine built by Chrysler throughout the 90s and early 2000s. Now, the Dodge Intrepid competed with vehicles like the Ford Taurus, the Nissan Maxima, the Chevy Lumina, but people got a lot of attention when they drove these Dodge Intrepids because they had a V6 engine, which was a 24 valve configuration. It even switched to the auto stick, which they took from the Eagle Vision. And when this car hit the auto show, it got a lot of attention. And even in Canada, this was a very big seller. Now, a couple things that I learned when I had my 97 Dodge Intrepid is that this engine was great for around town driving. It was great for highway driving. And the auto stick was very usable. I drove the auto stick pretty much the first day I started driving it. It took, because it's not a real stick shift, and it was one of the first American companies to use an auto stick and use that terminology. But the advantage of the Intrepid, you got to understand, when the 90s were around, people didn't know if the SUV trend was still going to be a fad. So vehicles like this still performed very well because they offered a lower price point. They offered the big back seat. They offered the big cargo room. And a lot of people were asking big money for those new small SUVs like the Ford Explorer, the Chevy Blazer. There was a lot of marketing around the SUVs to get more money. But the affordable mid-size segment is where Dodge and Chrysler really capitalized. And this is when still like Eagle and Plymouth and all the other brands were still going on. So they were doing something very similar to what Chevy was doing at the time, is they were marketing essentially a very similar product with a similar engine and transmission across about 4 different brands. Now you got to understand also in the 80s,